Welcome to Being at Home with George. I'm excited to be here with you coming from sunny LA. And I'd like to talk about this idea as we usually start each session with this idea of embracing everything, saying yes to it, and at the same time generating hope. And today I'd like to talk about the wisdom of the body. This idea of understanding the body doesn't lie, it just reflects what's there. It doesn't have an opinion. It's just a way that keeps us honest, keeps us in flow, and keeps us in the moment and being real. It's interesting because being in a different time zone, here it's 3 hours behind, or in Massachusetts and Boston, we're 3 hours ahead. So coming here, I'm moving back 3 hours behind. And there's a tendency, I've been coming here for years, for over 20 years to this particular place. And it's easy to get thrown off. Your whole system be thrown off because you're in a different time zone, and even calling back home. I was going to call a friend last night to check in on him, and it was 10 o'clock at night, which meant it would be 1 o'clock at night in the East Coast, so I couldn't call him. So this idea of how does one orient oneself? How does one have a space or a spot or a center from which to observe our experience? I found that to be very important, to have a perspective, but to have a stationary perspective. And so this idea of the wisdom of the body comes to mind in my process, and understanding that the body doesn't lie and that it keeps me honest and it keeps me in flow. Why is it important? Is because when I'm in my body, when I can be still and know, or be quiet, I'm able to observe and maintain my center. But the interesting thing is that the body, I have to let it speak for itself in its own language. I have to listen to it, not as I want it to be or as I think it should be, but as it is in real time. And so the only way we can hear that still small voice or listen to the body and let the body speak to us is to be still and to be quiet. And why is it important? Because when I first started learning how to manage my stress, I came from a culture, from a community where you don't get stressed out. It's a weakness. Part of it is sort of a belief system that says, oh, I don't get stressed out. That's for wimps, that's for somebody else. And yet, when I started doing this stuff because I had chronic pain, that I realized that my body was saying to me, yeah, man, maybe you don't get stressed out, but there's some stress in here. Why else would your shoulders be up around your ears, or why you wouldn't have all this muscle tension? Your jaws are tight. There's some stress in there. And so it allowed me to say, okay, well, let me open up to that possibility and see if it's true. And why don't I act as if there's stress in the body and do the things that's going to allow me to de-stress or de-escalate the discomfort. But it's the body. The body is telling me that. And so when I can just listen to it, and the body says, yeah, okay, so I have a migraine headache coming on. You're trying too hard. Dial it back. Because some of us have this intense energy. That was me for sure. And so understanding and letting the body speak to me in its own language, and listening and getting to a place where the body tells me when I need to sleep, the body tells me when I need to eat, when I need to hydrate or whatever. But the main thing is when I can be still and know, and when I can go in the flow of the body, it puts me in the flow, it puts me in a rhythm, and I'm able to observe that eye of the hurricane, or that quiet place within, that allows me to observe experience in an uncritical way, and just holding my center. In Joseph Campbell's discussion with Bill Moyers in The Power of Myth, he talks about this idea of holding our center, or coming from that quiet place within, and not being compelled by desire or fear or by social duty, or the shoulds, what I would call the should. You should do this, you should feel this way, you should be here at this time. And just holding our center and letting the body tell me, and letting myself be able to just be still and know and listen to the body. And the body will help me not only attend to it, to whatever is needed, whether it's sleep or rest, or just releasing tension, or noticing there's tension there, noticing that I'm reacting to things, and there's a clutching, there's a building up to fight or to flee or freezing, that it's telling me, okay, so even though I don't think I am, the body is reacting as if it's happening. Then from that perspective, I can go in and say, okay, what do I need to do? I need to relax. I need to be at ease, and I need to look at things in ways that diminishes or de-escalates the high state of arousal or the hyperness. And so that's why it's really important. And even being out here now and coming out here, I was so busy I didn't even sleep the night before. And I got here, and then once I got here, I was able to relax and just sleep a little bit. But once again, most people are still on East Coast time. I just feel like I'm not in any time zone. I'm just in my body. And my body is telling me whatever time zone I'm in, I just need to eat when I'm hungry, sleep when I'm tired, and get rest. And it was interesting because I'm self-employed. So when you're self-employed, you're always working. I'm working on my book. I launched a new program. And then there's the whole full catastrophe of life, things happening. And I noticed that yesterday, and I was here attending my friend's wedding, and I had some time. I had like a chunk of 4 hours. And I could have worked on my book or I could have done things, but I chose to just be still because my body was telling me I needed to rest, I needed to recover. And so I just used the time doing exercises like stretching, a little meditating, a little Tai Chi, but things that were restful. And so when I rest my body, it also rests my mind. So this idea of just listening to the body, and I took those 3 or 4 hours of being in what I would call the noble silence. I wasn't listening to things. I was just tuning into my body, being with myself. And I felt like it was a renewal and I got a second wind. So I was able to sustain the energy that I needed to go through. And it was a late wedding, it was 7 o'clock. So that's 10 o'clock East Coast time. And then we didn't get back to I think like midnight, which would be 3 o'clock. But I wasn't that fatigued. I was fine. So I forget that I'm in California because I'm just listening to my body, and when it tells me to rest, I rest. When it tells me to eat, I eat. But there's no shoulds involved. You should do this. Okay, it's lunchtime, eat. It's breakfast time, eat. It's dinner time, eat. No, I don't do that. I just, if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. And sometimes I eat a little something, but it's this idea of not just sleeping and eating, but it's also about getting my body at ease, at rest, and staying in my flow, staying in something that helps me. So this idea of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's another way of saying just do it and you'll gather momentum and just do what you know to do and the next thing will be given to you. But it's just being at ease, being at rest. And the body is best when it's at rest. And this ability to be in the eye of the hurricane and be able to observe experience where when I do react, I know I'm reacting and how do I create space between stimulus and response so I can go with the flow, go with my body, listening to my body, and actually reading the situation and being like water. Situation is this way, then just go with the flow. Or what I say, embrace whatever comes up, say yes to it, generate the hope, and then slow is smooth and smooth is fast.